Welcome to Shelby Stitcher. This is Joan Parker. Today I'm going to show you how I attach binding by machine to the front of my quilt. I showed this in a previous video where I'll show you how to make the evenly spaced quilting lines. I use black thread on the front and cream on the back. You can't lay down this corner, only since this is such a small project. I'm leaving this tail that goes up halfway up the side of the quilt, and then I'm going to sew this bottom edge, and I'm going to pull out my magnetic pin cushion, grab a pin a 1/4 inch from the end so I know where to stop. I have increased my stitch length to 3 from 2.4, which is my default setting. So here we go. I'm sewing just a tad more than a 1/4 inch from the edge, and I'm going to be doing another video later on how to do this, how to sew this down by hand on the back of the quilt. Then I pivot and I can see the little corner of my actual quilt top, and I have it on this red line of my 1/4 inch tape. It is pointing directly at me, so I'm sewing a 45-degree angle right off the edge of the quilt. And I always go back and trim my threads off that I started with and throw them away immediately. That's how I keep things organized and neat and keep my brain able to focus on what I'm doing. So you can see I left this free and just sewed the last couple of inches down here. Now this is something, I'm just going to tell you this and you can think whatever you want about me, but when I first started quilting, I never understood how to get a mitered corner on the back of my binding. I had the instructions, but they didn't make sense to me. So I'm going to show this to you so that it can make sense to you. You have your binding out to the side, and I've sewed, here's the line of my stitching, is straight across, and the 1/4 inch from the end I go right out to the corner. When I do that, it holds this in place as I fold it over. Here I'm pulling these little strings off because they bother me. So I want to fold this straight up so that this edge of my binding and the edge of my quilt are lining up. Then I'm holding that with my finger and folding it. I'm switching hands here, but I'm folding it straight down so that the edge of my binding, the fold is at the top right here, and then this edge I'm going to line up with this edge of my quilt. Now I'm holding this all in place. You could use a pin or a clip, but I like to get this show on the road and just get started. So I'm going to line this up with my slightly more than a 1/4 inch foot again, and I'm going to hold my threads back because I'm starting a new piece of fabric. And if I don't do this, I'm going to get a bird's nest under the bottom of my quilt. Now if you've used a lead or ender or have something else that you've sewn through before you start that process, you don't need to hold your threads. I'm just here to help. So again, I'm sewing down my side. I'm lining up the raw edge of my binding, which has been folded in half and ironed. And again, I'm going to pin a 1/4 inch from the edge. And you might need to measure your 1/4 inch, but I've sewn for so many years that I trust eyeballing it myself. So I have one more stitch to do. Here it is. Take out the pin, which was right past where I was stitching. Turn it again. See how this is a 90-degree angle, but it's pointing straight at me. So that makes a 45-degree angle when I sew off the edge of the quilt here. Again, I'm going to just trim my threads, go back here and trim these loose threads, get them right into my trash can, which you can't see, but is right down there. And now I've done the other corner.